Greetings, I'm Dan Halligan with Canta Games, and I'm the developer of Obsession and of Upstairs Downstairs, the expansion and headliner to this campaign. And you're really not supposed to be seeing me now. I had planned on you being entertained by a professional video, not an amateur one like this, complete with animation, and I'd even thought up and looked into a British voice actor for the theme. But I stopped myself. The last 6 or 7 games I backed on Kickstarter, and you can see that I do back a few games. I haven't even bothered to click on those lead videos. I think experience has just taught me, and I apologize if I'm generalizing, that they're commercials. There's not a lot of substance for help me along with my decision. So I decided to do something different with this video, and that means I'm gonna break some rules. I'm gonna talk too long. But it gives me the opportunity to explain my design philosophy for the Upstairs Downstairs expansion, for those of you who decide to stay with me on this. When I run into an expansion for a game that I like, it's an automatic for me. I get it, and I hope. And my experience falls into 2 categories. One category is the game doesn't seem to be a synergistic part of the original that I like so much. It seems to be sort of barnacled onto the game, maybe moved quickly to the market to take advantage of that early popularity. And those games show up, you realize what you have, and they go on a shelf in the other room. That's Exile. And they're no longer part of really my collection. Then there's expansions which are like, wow. You get it, you realize what you have, and that expansion box is gone, unless it's a pretty box. But the expansion box is gone, and boom, that goes right into the original. I got Terra Mystica over there. I don't know where Fire and Ice ends and the base game begins. That's one experience for me. That's synergy right there. And that is how I feel about the Upstairs Downstairs expansion. To give you a little background on this, we need to go back to when I was thinking of getting into the board game business. I felt I had to solve a mystery because I was falling in love with these fantastic games, crunchy, strategic, thematic, and I'm an enthusiastic evangelist. And there were people close to me, there were family and friends, who I could not get to sit down and try one of these games. They resisted mightily. And I had to do some research and figure out why, because I can't believe what they're missing. Well, I got 2 answers, and I'm sure many of you know these answers. They were a revelation to me at the time. The first one I really detailed in my first Kickstarter in 2017 when I explained how I developed Obsession for my Jane Austen, Victorian, Downton Abbey loving wife. She falls into that category of person who really just doesn't go for fantastic, wild, out there topics. I mean, I may be a heavy Euro guy, but let's face it, our hobby, we're mostly about mythology, fantasy, post-apocalyptic, space exploration, those types of things. That's really our breadbasket. And there's some people who just don't like that. But the second reason surprised me, and that is they don't want to be a punching bag. I mean, I guess I look at it this way. Let's say I'm a semi-pro racquetball player, and I love racquetball, and I want a friend, someone I'm close with. I want you to play racquetball with me. Well, they go, that's a semi-pro racquetball player. I'm going to get smoked. They look at us. I mean, they look at me with these games, and I have a weird ability to memorize rule books. So the game comes out, and I can just set it up and teach it. And they figure, well, I'm just going to get destroyed. Guy's got every rule in his head. I didn't realize how much of an issue that was for some folks. They just didn't really want to tackle that. I did solve that with Obsession, but I never really developed it because it involved a curse word for gamers. And that's randomness. I call it Victorian fate. If you think about the literature of the period, nothing was more central to the plot lines of that literature than some stunning revelation. Wickham or Willoughby aren't who they appear to be. The wife's in the attic. And you might say, well, a lot of stories use stunning revelations. But Victorian honor created a particularly rich backdrop for shocking revelations because there was so much propriety, there was so much more to be shocked about. If you're in Breaking Bad world, there's not a whole lot that's going to shock you. So it was perfect thematically, and it was perfect for addressing that second concern. If you're watching me now and you haven't played Obsession and you and I sat down and I taught it well, I have about a 60% chance of winning that game. And I've played Obsession more than any human being on planet Earth, hundreds of times. That's Victorian fate. Now, that's good and bad. I have had countless emails where people have told me how much they enjoy that because it is a reason that someone who's not a regular gamer is playing the game along with the theme. And it's succeeded in that. Then I get a very vocal group of people that say, randomness, garbage, out the window. Now there's some people who've been vocal who saw the mechanical sort of dance that takes place in Obsession between servants and locations and guests and reputation. And they said, too good to neglect. We need to fix this. And they came up with an expert variant. And I worked with them on that. And I think it does a lot to take a little bit of the Victorian fade out. But I wrestled with the issue because I said, I want it to be a synergistic whole. If the fate is going to be mitigated, the fate has to be mitigated by something that is so thematic that it won't in any way interfere with the thematic experience that is playing this game. And that's upstairs, downstairs. So I've talked way too long. There's probably like 3 people still watching me. And I'm just going to finish with one example of how that theme can help mitigate the chance and please the hardcore strategic gamer. This is a head housemaid. Isn't she pretty? This head housemaid is a servant in the upstairs downstairs expansion that is the most well-informed servant in all of that area of Derbyshire. And she is connected, plugged into the grapevine. As a result, she allows the player to screen blind draws from a deck. Now, I could have arbitrarily dictated a rule. Hey, let's draw 2, keep 1. Let's try to mitigate that randomness. No, I want to do it with a head housemaid, one that gossips, one that's got connections at all the great houses. And that's the idea behind Obsession. Please take a look at the content below. Those of you new to Obsession, dive a little deeper. You'll see Antlab Games, Heavy Cardboard, Rahdo. You'll see John Getz Games. You'll see a lot of great playthroughs down there to get you up to speed. In fact, at the top, there's one from 3 Minute Board Games that I highly recommend because it's less than 3 minutes long. Thank you very much for visiting the project.